why the gut is so important and how this relates to the brain and some things we should be thinking about.
One area is just physiologically it's connected, or anatomically it's connected. And that's through what we call now the gut-brain axis, primarily through the vagus nerve, which when I was in school, all we thought was that the brain tells the body what to do. But now we know that it's actually bidirectional and that there is afferent nerves and efferent nerves, so one leaving and one coming, and there's a circle of communications. And then they've actually found that there's more communication going from the gut to the brain than vice versa, which is kind of funny because it sort of stands everything up on its head. But it does also immediately bring more importance to gut health, because you're like, hey, if this is talking to my brain and I'm trying to optimize my brain, then I've got to listen to my gut. Think about your gut tract or your GI system as this insanely complex tube that runs through your body and allows exterior parts of the world to come inside of your body and be integrated into your body. When I think about the GI tract, I think about the immune system. There's an army working all the time in our digestive tract that is protecting us from the outside world while being 100% exposed to the outside world all the time. You have this alive army, but you also have the structures of a fortress that protect you, which we have through the lining of the GI tract. It's got layers and layers to it, and it's got the ability to sift through what to keep and what to let go. It just blows your mind when the fortress is vulnerable or the army is not prepared. Then we have everything start to fall apart. We would call it leaky gut, which means it's leaking. But they had to make another word for it called gastrointestinal hyperpermeability. There's a break in the barrier. And so as soon as you have that, then your body initiates the inflammation response in an effort to protect you. So if you think about being in orange status or whatever at the airport, this is exactly what happens inside of our body. We're at these different status levels of reaction and protection. Our body's trying to do it for us. But if we're not responding to that, or we don't have an awareness of it, it can get pushed over to the edge, and it can then become something that's literally detrimental to our health. You are starting your digestive process before you ever stick anything in your mouth, because the very thought of eating begins to produce some of the enzymes that you need to start digesting. Taking a moment of being grateful for your food has always happened in all different religions and cultures. They typically have a pause before eating, and it's very functional. It allows you to begin to produce your saliva. So you put your food in your mouth and you chew, which when you chew, you create more surface area. When you create more surface area in the food, then there's more availability for the enzymes to do their work breaking it down. So if you ever worked in the lab, you know that when you're trying to break something down, if you stir the dish, it will break down faster. If you heat it, it will break down faster, things like that. Those are all starting in your mouth. And so you get the chewing, breaking it, making more surface area, then you get the enzymes working. If you think about the parasympathetic nervous system, we say rest, digest, recover. And we never think about digest. We just think about rest and recover. But digestion is a function of the parasympathetic nervous system. If you are running and gunning, you are not digesting your food well, because digestion occurs in the parasympathetic phase. In order to move yourself into that rest and digest state, you have to be a good breather. So sometimes I'll start with a client who's overwhelmed with the digestive stuff. And instead of giving them a list of food to eat and a list of rules about the food, I will work with the idea of how do you get into a calm state? Because if we don't have those as the basis, then I can have you eat the perfect diet and take the perfect supplements, but you have to get the system working in the right gear for those items to be useful. The body will fight to find whatever nutrient it needs to keep going. This ability for the body to calculate or figure out a way is just mind-boggling. What is my body hunting for? In America, we're obese, but we're nutritionally starved. And so when I think about what I want to eat today, it starts with thinking about what my body needs to begin with. I want to give it the best things that it can function with. So I'm going to avoid a lot of processed food because that's a foreign language to what the body understands. Can it digest it? Yes, we can see that it can digest it and it can survive. But in order to be optimal, you want to send food through that your body understands. And in general, that would be more whole foods. Things that are not processed are going to be much more understandable to the body's reading it and trying to digest it, but it also will break down better. Inflammation is where it starts being a problem in the gut tract, in the small intestine, where we get that leaky gut problem. The stuff above that, the stomach stuff, is you're going to see the problem more in things like gastric reflux or burping or things like that, where you're like, oh, we need to kind of think about the acid and whether we have enough acid, and maybe like our grandmas used to drink a little slug of apple cider vinegar every morning to get the digestive engine running. You know, those are really great old school principles, but the food quality and the food types that we choose are what are probably the biggest culprit in the leaky gut stuff, because it's coming from the body reacting to like, how do I just digest this?